Dawn rose slowly over the quiet stretch of prairie, its first pale strokes brushing the land like a hand hesitant to wake a sleeping child. The sun did not rush today. It lingered at the edge of the horizon, soft as a whispered apology, letting the dust in the air shimmer with a faint golden glow. The wind carried the scent of dry grass and distant rain, the kind that often brings old memories back with it. And along that lonely road, where the ground cracked in thin, tired lines, a wagon rolled forward with a heaviness that did not belong to its wooden wheels alone. Alyssa sat inside, her hands wrapped around the small bundle of her belongings. 24 years old, yet carrying the exhaustion of someone far older. Her eyes held a quiet strength, the kind only built by surviving things no one ever applauded her for. She watched the Eliezer ranch growing nearer, its silhouette standing against the soft light, wide land, wide sky, and a silence that felt older than both. She was not frightened, not exactly. More like bracing herself, the way someone does before stepping into cold water. It was not the man she feared. It was the life waiting for her, handed to her by people who never cared to know what she wanted. When the wagon stopped, dust rose around her like a thin veil. She stepped down, her feet sinking softly into the earth. Eliezer stood a few yards away, arms crossed, boots planted firmly, jaw set like a stone that refused to be shaped. He was 34, but looked older in the way men who carry grief do. His eyes were sharp, steady, unreadable, and for a brief second, Alyssa felt as if he were measuring every piece of her soul without saying a word. He did not approach. He did not greet. He simply watched her, and in that watching lived all the history he never spoke of. Old Judge Hale, who had come along to witness the forced union the town insisted upon, cleared his throat with a kind of finality. Alyssa felt the weight of it settle on her shoulders. She looked once more at Eliezer, who stood like a stubborn tree, refusing to bend for a storm. He didn't hate her, she could sense that much. But he hated being handed a duty, hated being expected to feel something again, hated that the world always found ways to corner him. The judge left after muttering a few hollow blessings, and Alyssa was alone with the man who was now bound to her on paper, but in no other way. She waited for him to speak, but he only nodded toward the porch and turned away. Not coldly, not cruelly, just quietly resigned, as if he never expected anyone to step into his life again. Alyssa followed, stepping into a house that felt untouched by warmth for far too long. Dust clung to corners like old secrets. The windows let in only thin slivers of light, careful and distant. She placed her bundle down and began cleaning without a word, her movements gentle, respectful. Not to please him, to give herself something to hold on to. Eliezer watched from the doorway, brow furrowed, confusion flickering through his guarded expression. He had expected resistance, anger, maybe even tears. Instead, she moved through the house like someone who had learned how to build peace quietly, one small act at a time. She did not force conversation, did not invade his space. She simply existed near him with a softness he did not know how to receive. Over the next days, the silence between them changed its shape. It was no longer a wall, more like a room they were both learning to stand in. Alyssa repaired the loose porch rail. She swept the dust from corners he had long forgotten existed. She left warm tea by his tools before dawn broke. Not expecting thanks. Not expecting anything. Eliezer noticed every little thing, and noticing unsettled him. He had long decided that the world offered nothing gently. That kindness was simply another trap. But her presence did not demand, did not push, did not take. It only warmed the spaces she touched. He found himself pausing at doorways just to watch her hands work, slow and steady. Found himself listening to her soft steps in the hallway, a sound he didn't know he had missed until now. Found himself wondering why her presence felt like sunlight resting on old wood, quiet, patient, mending without permission. One afternoon, Alyssa tried to calm a frightened foal that refused to come near. Eliezer stepped beside her, moving with the quiet confidence of someone shaped by land and livestock. He showed her where to place her hands, how to breathe slow to reassure the small creature. Their fingers brushed, just lightly, and Alyssa's breath caught. Eliezer's did too, though he masked it beneath a small shift of posture. The foals settled, but their hearts did not. Something small and dangerous bloomed there, uninvited but impossible to ignore. The town whispered constantly. Some said Alyssa was lucky to be taken in. Others pitted Eliezer for being forced into companionship he didn't want. Alyssa heard rumors that painted her as a burden. Eliezer overheard a few that claimed he married her out of pity. The words stung him more deeply than he expected. He spent years building walls high enough that nothing could reach his heart. Yet now, cruel gossip made him restless, made him angry, made him realize he cared what Alyssa thought of him. More than he should, more than he knew how to admit. A storm came one night, rolling across the sky like a wounded beast searching for shelter. The house trembled with each clap of thunder. Candles flickered, shadows swaying across the walls. Alyssa woke from a nightmare she had tried to bury, the kind with echoes that cling even after the eyes open. She stepped outside into the biting wind, hoping cool air would steady her. Rain splattered against her dress, cold and brief. Eliezer found her there, trembling. He didn't speak. He simply removed his coat and draped it around her shoulders, then guided her back inside with a hand at her back, so gentle it barely counted as touch. They sat by the fireplace, flames flickering like old memories waking from sleep. For the first time, Alyssa let a little of her past slip through her voice. Not the full story, just hints of loneliness, abandonment, and years of being given to people who never really wanted her. Eliezer listened, really listened. And when he spoke, his voice was rough, unfamiliar with softness. He told her he had forgotten how to care for anyone, how to trust, how to let someone near the broken parts he kept buried. But her presence, somehow it was stirring things he thought time had long killed. Lightning split the sky, striking near the barn. The horses screamed in panic. Alyssa ran without thinking, heart pulling her toward danger as naturally as breath. The mud sucked at her boots, rain blinding her. She reached the barn door just as a flash illuminated a collapsing beam. She stumbled, slipping in the wet earth. Eliezer raced after her, shouting her name against the roar of the storm. He caught her wrist before she fell, pulling her into his arms with a desperation he didn't have time to hide. She pressed against his chest, breath trembling. His heartbeat thundered not from a storm, but from fear, fear of losing her, fear of what that fear revealed. They stood in the rain, held together by instinct more than choice. Eliezer cupped her face, thunder rolling behind them. The confession broke from him like a dam giving way. He told her he never hated her. He told her she had quietly mended parts of him he thought would remain shattered forever. He told her she was not a burden, not an obligation, but the peace he never knew he needed until the moment he almost lost her. Alyssa's tears blended with the rain, her breath catching at the tenderness in his voice. She whispered that she never expected kindness from him, never expected to feel seen again. Their foreheads came together, a soft meeting of souls rather than bodies, and the storm around them seemed to quiet just enough for the world to hear their hearts finding a place to rest. In that fragile moment, two wounded lives finally met without fear, and the night, once heavy with thunder, settled into a calmer breath, as if blessing the confession it had witnessed.